A cry for help went out, and the monsters of Earth answered. Part 1. 1250 words. Simple English. Third person. Violated free. Interesting. The signal reached Earth at midnight. It was not a message of peace, not a warning, and not a threat. It was a single, desperate cry that repeated again and again, carried through deep space like a trembling whisper. Please, help us. Anyone, any being. We are dying. Most humans never heard it. Only one scientist did, a woman named Dr. Mira Hale. Working alone inside an isolated listening station in the Arctic Circle, she stared at the signal with shaking hands. The message wasn't encrypted, wasn't coded, wasn't complex. It was raw fear sent across the stars. She forwarded it to Earth Command, but they answered with cold words. Unknown trap, do not engage. Mira knew fear when she heard it. And she knew something else. Earth Command would ignore it. The message would be buried. No ship would launch. No diplomat would speak, but there were others on Earth. Beings not tied to official commands. Beings who accepted no orders at all. Beings humanity had once feared. They were not human soldiers. Not government heroes. They were the creatures Earth kept in the shadows. The ones the galaxy whispered about. The ones aliens called monsters. And they heard the cry. Far beneath the Appalachian Mountains. Inside a deep cavern reinforced with steel and ancient stone, a giant creature opened his glowing yellow eyes. He was called Goruk, the last living titan created during Earth's forgotten biowar centuries ago. His body was shaped like a hulking gorilla, but twice as large, with armor-like skin and a mind sharper than any human warrior. The cry echoed inside his head even though no speaker played it. He felt it like a vibration inside his bones. Someone is in pain, he rumbled, his voice shaking dust from the cave ceiling. A smaller figure stepped from the shadows beside him. A woman with silver hair, wearing a light exosuit covered in glowing blue markings. Her name was Lyra, a human hybrid who had once been part of a secret Earth experiment. She had the senses of a wolf, the agility of a feline, and the eyes of a hawk. You heard it too? She whispered. Goruk nodded. It reached all of us. A sharp mechanical scraping came from behind them. Something tall, metallic, and deadly unfolded from a charging station. It stood 3 meters high, built like a lean skeletal robot, with a red psychic core burning in its chest. Designation: Prototype X-11. Nickname: Revenant. Once created to be the perfect killing machine, Revenant had long abandoned Earth's orders after gaining free will. Now it operated under its own strange code. Protect the innocent, destroy the threat, question everything. Its voice was a cold, metallic echo. The source is outside our star system. Probability of real danger: 98%. Probability of trap: irrelevant. Lyra crossed her arms. Earth Command won't send help. They will not risk ships for strangers. Goruk slowly stood, stretching massive limbs that shook the cavern. Then we go. We are not command. Revenant's red core brightened. Agreed. The monsters of Earth began to gather. Across the world, more answered the call. In the Sahara, a sand-covered behemoth lifted its spiked head and growled. In the Pacific, a serpent the length of a battleship broke the surface under the moonlight. In the ruins of an old laboratory, a floating sphere of psychic energy pulsed brighter and brighter. Each one felt the fear from across the stars. Each one had been created, abandoned, hunted, or misunderstood by humans, but not one of them ignored the cry, because they all remembered what it felt like to be helpless. Dr. Mira Hale watched her screens shaking with panic. She saw unauthorized power spikes across the planet, energy readings from the monsters' hidden shelters. Something was waking them. Something was calling them. Her heart pounded. They're moving. All of them. Her assistant, a young technician, looked terrified. Should we alert Command? Mira shook her head. Command will try to destroy them before asking why. We need to observe first. Through satellites, she watched Goruk stride from the cave entrance, snow melting around him. Revenant hovered beside him, with Lyra racing past in powerful leaps. Mira recognized the three at once. They were classified as Earth's discontinued assets. But to her, they were survivors. "What are they doing?" the assistant whispered. Mira replayed the alien cry again. "Exactly what humans refuse to do," she murmured. "They're going to help." The monsters gathered at an abandoned launch facility in Siberia. It had once been a human project, but was now a forgotten ruin. Revenant approached the rusted doors, red light glowing in its chest. "Open," it commanded. The steel doors broke apart, as if made of paper. Inside lay a half-finished starship, an old Earth warcruiser shell that never went to production. The humans had abandoned it. But Revenant had the schematics stored inside its memory. Lyra stared at the ship's skeleton. "It cannot fly." Revenant's core pulsed. "It will." Gorok placed a massive hand on the frame, testing its strength. "We need energy. We need weapons. We need faster engines." Revenant tilted its head, almost amused. "Then we build them." Monsters moved with purpose. Some used claws to carve new openings for reactors. Some used heat organs to weld metal plates. Some used psychic pulses to shape circuits. Gorok lifted entire engine blocks as if they were toys. Lyra mapped every corridor with perfect memory. Revenant rewrote the entire flight system in the air, bright red lines of code forming holograms around its hands. For the first time in history, Earth's monsters were building something together, not for war, not for survival, but for someone who needed them. Hours passed. The ship began to take shape. A black hull formed, smooth and sharp like a blade. A reactor heart pulsed at the center, half biological, half mechanical. Gorok watched the glowing core. "This ship is alive," Revenant replied. "It must be. We go far, and we go fast." Lyra stepped beside them. The message came from a planet marked as Toriax 7. A farming world. "They do not have weapons. They do not have defenses." Gorok's fists tightened. "Then someone is hurting them." Silence passed between the three. Revenant finally spoke in a low, cold tone. "Then someone will answer to us." Dr. Mira Hale watched from her remote screens as the monsters prepared to launch the ship. She wanted to stop them. She wanted to warn them. She wanted to help them. But she knew something important. These beings were not Earth's weapons anymore. They were Earth's conscience. She whispered to herself, "Come back alive, all of you." The monsters boarded the ship. The engines roared. The ground shook. The black hull rose into the night sky. No anthem played. No flag waved. No government saluted them. But somewhere across the galaxy, someone cried for help. And Earth's monsters were coming. As the stars blurred and stretched around them, Gorok looked out the viewing window and said softly, "We are not monsters today." Revenant responded, "No. Today, we are answering a call." And Lyra whispered, "Let us hope we are not too late." The ship vanished into hyperspace, leaving Earth behind, and racing toward a world that had no idea who had heard its cry, or what was coming to save it. Part 1, and, if you want, I can start. Part 2, 1250 words now. A cry for help went out, and the monsters of Earth answered. Part 2, 1250 words, simple English. Third person, violated free. Interesting. The ship tore through hyperspace like a dark comet. Inside, every surface hummed with new energy created by the monsters themselves. The corridors glowed with soft blue veins, as if the ship had a heartbeat. Gorok walked slowly through the passage, his heavy steps echoing off the metallic floor. His large hand slid across the wall, feeling the warmth. "It is alive," he murmured again. Lyra walked beside him, studying the glowing veins. "Alive, but young. The ship is still forming. It's learning from us." "That is good," Gorok replied. "We will need a ship that understands danger." Ahead of them, red light spilled around a corner. Revenant floated in a small engineering chamber, hovering above the floor with perfect stillness. The air around it shivered from the energy pulsing in its core. Holographic screens shifted around its hands, filled with calculations and maps. Lyra cleared her throat. "Any updates?" Revenant did not turn. "Yes. We will reach Toriax 7 inches 20 hours. I have also intercepted fragmented transmissions from the planet. Goruk frowned. Transmissions? Revenant's voice dropped, colder than usual. Yes. Screams. Lyra stiffened. Are they still alive? Some, Revenant answered. But not for long. Far below the engines, in a lower chamber filled with dim blue lights, other monsters rested. They were different shapes, some large and heavy, others small and quick, some glowing, some shadow-like. They looked frightening, but right now their eyes were calm. They were waiting for orders, waiting for purpose. A psychic creature called Solari, a floating sphere of soft golden light, drifted between them. Solari was gentle, unlike many of the others. Its voice sounded in their minds like a warm breeze. We will protect, Solari whispered to them. We will save. The others rumbled softly in agreement. They remembered the cry just as clearly as Goruk and Lyra did. They remembered the fear inside that voice. It reminded them of their own pasts. Times when they were trapped, hunted, or abandoned. The cry had touched something deep inside them, something that made them feel not like monsters, but like guardians. Back in the main chamber, Goruk leaned over a holographic map projected by Revenant. They studied the image of Toriax 7. The planet looked peaceful from a distance. Green fields, flowing rivers, scattered villages. Lyra felt something strange in her chest. They don't look like a violent race. No, Revenant said. They were farmers. They were peaceful. Until the invaders came. Who are the invaders? Goruk asked, voice heavy. Revenant flicked through distorted visuals, shadows of tall creatures with armor like black stone. Unknown, but their ships are large, their weapons strong. They are not here to conquer. They are here to destroy. Lyra's fists tightened. Then we stop them. Revenant paused. Yes, but we must be careful. We are not sent by any government. We fight for no political side, Goruk grunted. We do not fight for sides. We fight for those who cry for help. Revenant's red core glowed brighter. Correct. As the ship continued its journey, the monsters prepared. Some sharpened natural claws. Some charged their internal organs. Some ran through the halls to build speed and strength. Lyra sat alone in a corner of the training chamber. She was silent, lost in thought. Her silver hair fell over her shoulders, glowing softly under the lights. Goruk approached her quietly and sat beside her. His weight made the floor vibrate. You are worried, he said gently. Lyra sighed. I'm thinking about the cry. The fear in it. They begged anyone to help. They did not even know who would hear it. Goruk nodded. Maybe they hoped humans would help. Lyra looked up with sad eyes. But humans did not. Goruk's large hand rested lightly on her shoulder, a gesture surprisingly soft for someone his size. Humans have their reasons. But that does not matter now. Someone heard. And that someone is us. Lyra smiled a little. You're right. Goruk stood. Come. It is time to join Revenant in the command center. When they entered, they found Revenant standing perfectly still, staring at a large viewing screen. The screen showed a blurry image, the surface of Toriax 7. Smoke rose from parts of the planet. Lights flickered. A storm of energy raged in the upper atmosphere. Lyra froze. What happened? Revenant slowly turned toward them. The invaders have begun their final attack. The ship shook as if reacting to the news. Goruk narrowed his eyes. Then we must go faster. We cannot, Revenant said. The engines are already at maximum. Any more, and the ship will tear apart. Lyra stepped forward. Can we use the ship's living core to boost speed? Revenant's eyes flickered. That is risky. But possible, Lyra pressed. Goruk nodded. If it means reaching them before it is too late, we take the risk. Revenant considered silently. Then its core brightened. Agreed. Prepare yourselves. This will be uncomfortable. Revenant moved to the central console and extended a hand toward the ship's core. Red energy pulsed through the circuits. The ship responded with a deep, resonating hum. Lyra grabbed onto a rail. Goruk braced himself by planting his feet wide. The hum grew louder, brighter, stronger. Then, the ship leapt forward, pushing into a higher layer of hyperspace. The stars outside blurred like streaks of white fire. Lyra felt her bones tremble. "How fast are we going?" Revenant answered calmly. "Fast enough." Hours later, the ship began to slow as they approached Toriax 7. The planet now appeared clearly on the viewing window. Fires burned along the surface. Villages were destroyed, fields flattened, skies filled with smoke. Dark enemy ships hovered above the cities like giant shadows. Lyra felt her breath catch. "It's worse than we thought." Gorik clenched his fists. "We will stop them." Revenant scanned the area. "There is still life. Survivors are hiding underground. Then we reach them first," Lyra said. "No," Revenant replied. "We must first remove the threat. If the invaders find the survivors before we act, they will kill them all." Gorik nodded. "Then we go to the enemy ships." Revenant's core pulsed. "Yes, prepare for deployment." On the ground of Toriax 7, deep inside a crumbling cellar, a small girl clung to her mother. Her blue skin shimmered faintly in the dim light. Tears ran down her cheeks as explosions shook the earth above them. "Will they find us?" the girl whispered. Her mother pulled her close. "We pray they won't." Another elder in the room spoke in a trembling voice. "We sent the cry. Maybe someone heard." "Who?" a man asked bitterly. "Who would help us?" "No human ship came. No alliance answered." The elder smiled weakly. "Help does not always come from the ones you expect." At that moment, the ceiling trembled with a strange vibration. Not an explosion. Not enemy footsteps. Something else. Something powerful. Something descending. The elder's eyes widened. "They came," he whispered. Someone heard. Above the planet. The monsters of Earth stood ready inside the deployment bay. Gorik cracked his knuckles. At last, Lyra pulled her gloves tight. Her eyes glowed bright gold. Revenant floated forward, scanning the battlefield. Primary enemy vessel located. "We will strike hard and fast." "First," Gorik grinned. "Good." Revenant turned to them. "Remember this. We are not destroying for vengeance. We are protecting life. Our goal is simple. Break their ships, stop their advance, save the survivors." Lyra nodded. "We know." Revenant's voice softened slightly. "Then may we be monsters, only to those who bring harm." The bay doors slid open. The wind of an alien world rushed in. Smoke rose. Fire burned. Enemy ships hovered like dark beasts. Revenant drifted out first, glowing like a red star. Lyra leapt after, landing gracefully on a broken tower. Gorik jumped last, the ground cracking under his impact. The monsters of Earth had arrived, and the invaders were about to learn that the cry for help had reached the wrong planet, because Earth had answered. Part 2 and, shall I begin? Part 3 1250 words. A cry for help went out, and the monsters of Earth answered. Part 3 1250 words. Simple English. Third person. Violated free. Interesting. The ground trembled as Gorik landed on Toriax 7. Dust rose around him like a brown cloud. His heavy feet cracked the stone beneath him. His yellow eyes slowly lifted as he stared at the enemy ship hovering above the city ruins. It was shaped like a massive black stingray, with glowing red patterns running across its underside. Smaller drones poured out of its belly, crawling through the air like metal insects. Lyra crouched on top of a collapsed tower, scanning the battlefield. Her silver hair fluttered in the wind. Her eyes glowed bright, shifting rapidly as she studied movement, heat signatures, and patterns only she could see. "We have about 40 drones in this zone," she called out. "They are spreading. They are searching for survivors." Revenant hovered beside her, its red core pulsing rhythmically. "Then we eliminate them." Gorik cracked his knuckles. Finally, the drones spotted the three figures and instantly changed direction. Their red lights brightened. Sharp, needle-like weapons unfolded from their sides. Lyra stood and drew a deep breath. "Ready?" Revenant's voice echoed calmly. "Begin." The drones attacked all at once. Revenant shot forward like a streak of red lightning. Its metal fingers extended into blade-like shapes as it sliced through the first wave. Sparks burst everywhere. The drones exploded one after another. But Revenant hardly slowed. It moved like a ghost, untouchable, precise, unstoppable. Goruk charged into the remaining drones with a roar that echoed across the ruined city. He swatted 2 drones with a single swing, crushing them like toys. A third drone fired at him, but the blasts bounced off his thick skin. Goruk grabbed it, crushed it, and hurled the broken pieces at another drone, knocking it from the sky. Lyra moved differently from both of them. She dashed across broken rooftops, leaping gracefully between towers. Her claws extended from her fingertips, sharp but clean. She sliced through drones with quick movements, cutting wires and sensors with perfect accuracy. She dodged their blasts with flips and rolls, always one step ahead. Within minutes, the ground was littered with burning drone fragments. Goruk exhaled loudly. Too easy. Revenant scanned the area. They were scouts. The real threat is the mothership. Lyra pointed upward. Then let's go. Before they could move, a thunderous explosion shook the street behind them. A giant mechanical creature burst through the rubble. It was twice Goruk's size, shaped like a monstrous insect with thick armored legs and a glowing red eye. Revenant's core dimmed slightly. Enemy heavy unit detected. The creature roared and charged at them. Goruk stepped forward, flexing his arms. At last, a real challenge. Inside the underground shelter, the survivors heard explosions rumbling above. Dust rained down from the ceiling. The little girl clutched her mother again. Are they coming for us? She whispered. The elder closed his eyes. Not them. Something else. Something powerful. Another explosion shook the ground. The mother panicked. We must hide deeper. No, the elder said softly. Help is above us. The man who had earlier lost hope looked at him in disbelief. Help? Who would help us now? The elder placed a hand on the wall, feeling the vibrations. Monsters, he whispered. The others gasped. Monsters, the mother repeated. What do you mean? The elder smiled sadly. Creatures not of our world. Creatures who heard our cry. They are not here to hurt us. The little girl's eyes widened. Then, they're heroes? The elder chuckled softly. Many would not call them heroes. But today, yes, today, they fight for us. Above, the mechanical beast lunged at Goruk. Goruk blocked the attack with both arms, pushing back against the creature's heavy legs. The street cracked beneath their combined weight. Lyra darted around behind the creature, searching for weaknesses. It has heavy armor, she shouted. Target the joints. Revenant's red core brightened. Understood. Revenant fired a thin beam from its chest. The beam pierced one of the creature's joints, causing its leg to twitch violently. Goruk seized the moment. He grabbed the leg and twisted with all his strength. A loud snap echoed through the battlefield. The creature screeched. Lyra leaped onto its back, slashing at the joints along its spine. Sparks flew from each strike. The creature swung its massive body, trying to throw her off. But Lyra held on tightly, her claws digging into the armor. Now, Goruk, she yelled. Goruk roared and slammed both fists into the creature's front leg, breaking the metal cleanly. The creature stumbled, collapsing onto its side. Revenant aimed again. Finishing strike. A bright red blast shot from Revenant's core, striking the creature's eye. The explosion tore through its head and sent metal fragments flying in all directions. Silence fell. The creature's body lay still on the broken street. Lyra jumped off its back and wiped dust from her suit. That was close. Goruk crossed his arms. We need more than fighting skills. We need a plan. Revenant floated above them. Agreed. The mothership has not attacked yet. They are studying us. Lyra frowned. Studying? Yes, Revenant said. The invaders did not expect resistance. Now, they are analyzing our abilities. Goruk growled. Then we show them more than abilities. Lyra looked up at the dark ship. We need to get inside. Revenant's eyes flickered. That is possible. The ship has docking ports, but security will be high. That A we. A we conservative card. Goruk smiled. Good. I like high. Revenant continued. But we cannot all enter together. The ship will detect us. A smaller team will have the best chance. Lyra nodded slowly. One inside, one outside. Revenant tilted its head. Correct. Goruk stepped forward. I will go inside. Lyra shook her head instantly. No. You are too big. You will be detected quickly. Revenant analyzed silently. Lyra is correct. Your size makes infiltration impossible. Goruk grunted. Then who? Revenant floated a little closer. Lyra. Lyra stiffened. Me? You are fast, Revenant said. You are silent. You understand movement and patterns better than any of us. Goruk placed a hand on her shoulder. You can do it. Lyra swallowed hard. All right. What about you two? We will draw attention, Revenant said. If the mothership focuses on us, you will get inside. Goruk grinned widely. We smash, you sneak. Good plan. Lyra took a deep breath. All right. Let's do it. As they moved closer to the mothership, the ground shook again. More drones swarmed from the ship's underside, but this time, they did not spread. They formed a wall blocking the monsters from advancing. Revenant's core glowed brighter. They know we are coming. Goruk smiled. Let them. Lyra crouched. This is my chance. When you break the first wave, I will slip through. Revenant raised a metallic hand. Be careful. Lyra nodded. You too. The drones screeched and charged forward like a dark wave. Revenant shot upward, firing precise blasts that tore through the first line. Goruk barreled forward, smashing through the center. The drones tightened formation, trying to trap him. Revenant struck them from above, carving a path wider. There! Revenant shouted. The path opened for a moment, only a breath long. Lyra sprinted forward, moving faster than the drones could track. She dashed through the opening, jumped off a broken beam, flipped over a cluster of drones, and landed silently near the mothership's underside. Goruk's voice boomed behind her. Go, Lyra. She scaled the ship's surface, claws gripping the metal. The docking port came into view, glowing faintly. Inside, shadows moved. She whispered to herself. I'm inside, almost. But just as she reached the edge of the port, the metal beneath her suddenly lit up bright red. Revenant's voice crackled through the comm. Lyra, move now. The ship had detected her. Weapons unfolded from the walls. A trap had been triggered. The mothership was ready, and Lyra was now alone. Part 3, end. Ready for Part 4, 1250 words. A cry for help went out, and the monsters of Earth answered. Part 4, 1250 words. Simple English, third person, violated free, engaging. Lyra froze as the metal under her feet glowed bright red. The mothership had awakened. Thin panels slid open around her, revealing dark barrels and glowing sensors. She knew what they were: auto-defense weapons. Fast, precise, deadly. Revenant's voice burst into her earpiece. Lyra, move now. She didn't hesitate. She leapt to the side just as a beam of red light fired from the ship's hull, slicing the air where she had stood. Heat brushed her skin. She grabbed the edge of a vent pipe and swung herself upward. More beams fired sharp, clean, humming with danger. Lyra twisted her body mid-air, dodging each one by inches. Her claws dug into the hull, stopping her fall. She pressed flat against the ship, panting softly. That was close, she whispered. Below, Goruk watched the beams streak across the sky. His fists clenched. They are trying to kill her. Revenant floated beside him. She can handle it. She must. Our goal depends on her entry. Goruk grunted. I don't like waiting. You don't have to wait, Revenant replied. Prepare for incoming forces. The ground shook again as heavier enemy units emerged from the mothership's underside, towering insect-like machines with sharp, blade-like legs. Their bodies glimmered with dark metal, and red light pulsed beneath their armor. Revenant analyzed them quickly. Heavy units. More dangerous than the last. Goruk smiled, tightening his fists. Good. The machines charged. Gorok met them head-on. Lyra crawled silently along the hull, slipping between shadows. The docking port was only a few meters away. But now it was guarded by two mechanical sentries, slim machines, shaped like tall humanoids with glowing red eyes. They stood still, but alert, scanning every movement. Lyra's heart raced. I must get inside. I must. She waited for the right moment. A drone flew by. A beam flashed to the left. A tremor shook the ship, pulling the sentry's attention for a split second. Lyra moved. She jumped down behind the first sentry, her claws extended. She struck two quick blows, one to the back of the knee joint and one to the neck. The sentry fell silently. The second sentry turned, sensing the disturbance. Its glowing eyes brightened. It raised an alarm signal. Lyra reacted instantly. She threw the first sentry's fallen weapon with perfect accuracy. It struck the second sentry in its core. Sparks burst out. The machine collapsed. Lyra raced to the docking port and placed her hand on the panel. Revenant, I'm at the entrance. I need you to link. Connecting, Revenant replied. A red line traced across the panel. The door hissed open. Lyra slipped inside. Inside the mothership, the air was cold and metallic. The walls pulsed with red light, like veins carrying energy. Strange clicking noises echoed through the halls. Lyra activated her visor. Heat signatures glowed through the walls, many of them moving, patrolling, searching. She whispered, I'm inside. Revenant answered, Good. Your target is the command core. Destroy it, and the entire fleet will lose control. Understood. Lyra moved quietly through the corridor, her steps light, her senses sharp. Every sound, every vibration, every shift in the air registered in her mind. Outside, the battlefield grew more intense. Gorok wrestled with two heavy machines. One stabbed at him with a long blade-like limb. He caught it in both hands and snapped it in half. The machine screeched. Gorok slammed his fist into its torso, shattering its armor. Another machine leapt at him. Gorok grabbed it mid-air and smashed it into the ground. The earth cracked beneath them. Revenant floated above Gorok, firing beams with perfect accuracy. Every beam hit a weak point: joints, sensors, energy cores. Machines exploded one after another, but more kept coming. Revenant spoke calmly, even as it destroyed another unit. They will overwhelm us eventually. We must rely on Lyra. Gorok growled. She will succeed. Revenant paused. I believe she will too. Lyra reached a tall chamber inside the mothership. It was filled with floating screens, pulsing cables, and strange symbols glowing on the floor. At the center stood a large pillar shaped like a twisted tower of black stone and metal. This was the command core. Energy pulsed inside it like a beating heart. But she wasn't alone. A massive enemy commander waited there, a tall creature with dark armor, long limbs, and glowing red eyes. It turned toward her slowly. Lyra froze. It towered over her by 3 times. Its body was plated with armor thicker than any drone. Its steps were heavy, shaking the floor. The creature tilted its head. A deep voice echoed from its chest. You are not of this world. Lyra backed away slightly. I'm here to stop you. The creature took another step. Your people did not answer the cry for help. Lyra stared. We are not here from any government. We came because we heard their fear. You? The creature growled. You and your monsters? Lyra's heart beat faster. Yes. The creature roared and swung its arm like a massive hammer. Lyra jumped aside. The ground exploded where she had stood. She dashed toward the command core, not to fight the commander directly but to reach the pillar. The creature lunged to block her. Lyra slid under its legs, rolled, and leapt onto a platform. Her claws extended. She attacked the core. Her claws struck but bounced off. It's shielded, she shouted. Revenant's voice replied instantly. You must overload the shield. Strike the glowing points, 3 of them. They are hidden around the core. Lyra looked quickly. There 3 faint lights pulsed around the pillar, but the commander saw them too. It charged at her. Lyra sprinted to the first light, running along the curved platform. She slashed it with her claw. Sparks erupted. The shield flickered. The commander roared and swung again. Lyra dodged by inches. She leapt across to the second point. landing lightly. She struck it. Another burst of sparks. The shield dimmed further. But the commander was faster now. It reached her, blocking her path to the third point. Lyra breathed heavily. I have to get around it. The creature raised its huge arm. You cannot win. Lyra smiled faintly. I don't need to beat you. I only need to break your ship. The creature swung its arm. Lyra leapt upward, flipping over the arm. As she soared above its head, she kicked off its shoulder, launching herself toward the third point. She landed, rolled, and slashed the glowing light with all her strength. The shield shattered. The command core pulsed violently. The creature froze for a split second, just long enough. Lyra yelled, "Revenant!" Now, a beam crashed through the ceiling. Revenant's attack, fired from outside with perfect aim. The red beam struck the command core directly. It exploded with a deafening roar. The entire ship shook violently. Lyra was thrown across the chamber. She hit the wall hard but managed to catch a cable before she fell. The commander screeched as sparks poured from its armor. Its eyes flickered. It collapsed. Lyra whispered, exhausted. Command core destroyed. Outside, all enemy units froze. Their red lights dimmed. Then they fell silent, collapsing like puppets with cut strings. Goruk watched them fall. It worked. Revenant's core dimmed gently. Lyra succeeded. Inside the underground shelter, the survivors heard the sudden silence above. The explosion stopped. The rumbling stopped. The air felt still. The little girl whispered, "Are we safe now?" The elder smiled. "The monsters have saved us." The mothership began to fall. Fires burst across its surface. Lyra scrambled toward the docking port as everything around her collapsed. "Revenant," she shouted. "I need extraction." A hole burst open in the hull. Revenant flew inside, red light glowing brightly. It extended a metallic arm. Lyra jumped. Revenant caught her and carried her out of the collapsing ship. They flew across the battlefield as the burning mothership crashed into the mountains below. Goruk watched them land safely. He let out a long, relieved breath. "You did well, Lyra." Lyra smiled tiredly. "We all did." Revenant nodded. "The survivors are waiting." 3. Goruk looked toward the ruins. "Then we go to them." When the survivors finally emerged, they saw 3 figures walking toward them. One massive, one glowing, one silent. The little girl stepped forward bravely. "You heard us?" Goruk knelt down slowly. "Yes." Lyra smiled warmly. "We came because you needed help." The elder stepped forward with tears in his eyes. "You saved us. But why?" Revenant answered softly. "Because no cry for help should ever be ignored." The survivors bowed their heads in gratitude. The monsters of Earth stood tall, not as weapons, not as horrors, but as protectors. As the sun rose over Toriak 7, shining on the ruined city and the rebuilding people, Lyra whispered to herself, "We came as monsters, but we leave as something better." And for the first time in their lives, Goruk, Lyra, and Revenant felt like heroes. Part 4 end. If you want Part 5, continuation, new titles, or more HFY series, just tell me.